Hello and welcome. Thank you for tuning into Wheelchair Realness. I'm Alexandria, aka the Disabled Rebel. And as always, I'm here to give you the real, I'm living disabled and what that looks like from my point of view as a quadriplegic living this disabled life. So let's get real. I want to talk about these new breed of nurses that are coming um, into the healthcare field. And I can tell you from my own personal experiences that I have been to many different hospitals on several different occasions, and it's not the hospital, which I learned when I first had the stroke. I had to come to that realization that you can call out the hospital's name because that's easiest than trying to remember individual names that at some point or another won't be there for whatever reason. But it's not the hospital so much as it's the people that are working. And I can tell you that these nurses are missing the care, the compassion, the respect, and the dignity to care for their patients. And the professionalism is just non existent. They think that they can speak to you any kind of way and take everything to be personal even when it's not directed at them. Unless it's directly addressed to you to dress you down, you shouldn't be taking things personal because people are going to be cranky, people are going to say things. People might even be yelling, screaming, or cussing at you, depending on the situation and how you're treating them. And I say this because I recently had to go once again to the emergency room at Baycare Wesley Chapel. And there was an incident where I needed to get cleaned up because I was sitting in my waist for a minute as I had terrible bowel movements with this illness that I had. And upon asking to be cleaned, I asked for soap and water, for which they told me that they had brought in plenty of wipes. And I told them I understand, but I would still like to be clean with soap and water. I've been sitting in my waist for a little bit, and I just like to feel fresh and clean. For which I was met with the question, do I know what the wipes are made of? Which was totally inappropriate and irrelevant. So I responded with actually, no, I don't, because I didn't make them. So the nurse caught an attitude, left the room, for which I don't know if he was not coming back or what he was doing, which he ended up coming back with soap and water, but with a major attitude, begrudgingly, coming in with that soap and water. Um, we had a few other things where they're trying to turn me and they're putting me on top of the railing. So I had to ask them if they could pull me back before rolling me over because I was eating metal, for which the nurse relayed the message back to the other nurse saying that I was eating metal, but in a sarcastic and facetious way. At one point, I started to tell them that it's ridiculous that they don't teach them to move the patient back before rolling them over. But all I got out was, that's ridiculous, when the nurse decided to jump down my throat, saying that they were doing everything that I asked, kind of clapping his hands as he spoke and raising his voice. He wasn't yelling, but he was in a raised voice, for which I told him, if you're going to speak to me, I'm going to need you to lower your voice. He countered with that he wasn't yelling, which I acknowledge you're not yelling, but you're definitely louder than you were when you were speaking to me before. So I'm going to need you to lower your voice. For his next response was that he was going to leave the room. Okay, bye. The second nurse remained, and I told her, you nurses should not be taking things personal. People are going to come in here in bad moods, this, that, and the third, and you shouldn't be taking that personal. Now, mind you, I have not yelled, screamed, cussed, nothing. I've been calm, I've been cool. Even when my safety was endangered, where I tried to point that out to them so as not to make that mistake again, and let them know that, this is a liability that someone else may take advantage of to catch a lawsuit, for which I was met with a flat and insincere sorry, it was a mistake, real snotty. But the nurse told me that they were not my punching bag, which was unprofessional and, again, inappropriate, irrelevant, and unwarranted. Because, again, no yelling, no screaming, no cussing, which at this point I think I would have had an attitude that could have probably escalated to at least, being rough in my tone with them, and I hadn't been. I was met with disdain. I was left with my aide to clean me, while they told me that they would just provide the medications I needed. I also, from the time that I arrived, let them know that I'm unable to use the remote and that I would need a way of being able to communicate with them should I need help when my aide leaves. That was never done. They sent in a babysitter, which they have this special program at Baycare that no other hospital has. No hospital is equipped to deal with special needs, and this is a problem. We'll talk about that in another video. But as of right now, I'm just worried that this new breed of nurses are very unprofessional, that they are careless, they are compassionless, uncompassionate, and care needs to be put back in healthcare. And until that happens, they need to find another word for healthcare, because as of right now, you're not showing me that you care about my health, and then catching an attitude when I can advocate for myself and speak up for me, and because you don't like what you're being told, no matter if it's done nicely or not, that you feel like you can retaliate against the patient. I also know for a fact that they expect that you don't know your rights, or that you can't go and look it up and figure something out to know that you can protect yourself. And they count on that, thinking, or maybe they're just not worried about it, because even when you report it to the state, what do they really do? Nothing. Even when they tell you that they have findings, that's the only thing you're going to hear from them, and nothing else is said or done about it. So they're operating, I guess, fearlessly, that they can do things and get away with it. But people are going to need to start being held accountable, and these hospitals are needing to recognize that you're going to need a little bit more training with your nurses on how to be humble, not to take things so personal, because people are going to be coming in there screaming, yelling, cussing, and what have you, and that you need not take it personal. Or that if you are mad or whatever, talk shit behind the door, but keep it professional while you're in front of the patient. And again, if no one's being rude to you, there's no need for you to be rude, disrespectful, or trying to treat me as if I don't deserve dignity. That it's a big issue for you to get soap and water to clean somebody. You must remember, nurses, healthcare workers, that one day you could be as sick as me. Or that one day, if you're blessed enough to live to be older, you're going to need care. And the care that you give is the care that you're going to receive. So if you want better care when you need it, I suggest you start giving better care to those who are in need that you signed up for and took an oath to provide. I'm just saying. What do you say? What are your thoughts? Have you had this experience? Tell me what you think about this topic of new breed of nurses. And in the meantime, keep it real, We're here to bring awareness, start conversations, so that we can bring the much needed changes that are required for people to live with disabilities with dignity, with respect, and to have a quality filled life like anybody else. And anyone who's just sick, period. You don't have to be disabled. We all deserve proper care. So let me know what you think. And thank you for tuning into Wheelchair Wellness. I'm Alexandria, aka the Disabled Rebel. You can catch me on YouTube, Wheelchair Wellness, and here on TikTok. And share, like, subscribe, and let's talk about it. In the meantime, keep rolling. Thank you.